Right, so we thought that since you can't have a valid Pentecost, well, actually it's not quite true. The Pentecost festival is supposed to be the day after the Sabbath. Therefore you can't have a Pentecost festival in the Sabbath month, except that you can if it's a late Pentecost, because you can count a 50 count to your regular Pentecost, for example the Zoa Pentecost, 50 days from Sivan 16 to Ab 5. And then this year Elul is the Sabbath month. So the second Zoa Pentecost that runs from Tammuz 16 to Elul 5, you can't celebrate it on Elul 5 because it's in a Sabbath, it's not the day after a Sabbath, the whole month is a Sabbath. So you'd have to go to the late version of that, which is the same festival, which is Tishri 5, and you can celebrate it then. And that would be the second Zoa Pentecost. However, the late version of the first Zoa Pentecost on Ab 5 is Elul 5, and that doesn't have to be the day after Sabbath, because you've already counted to the day after the Sabbath with Ab 5. All you do with the late festival is count 30 days more onto the original festival. Therefore Elul 5 is validly the late version of the Zoa Pentecost. So there is a festival on Elul 5, and we now have a fire sign predicted for Elul 5 for that reason. Likewise, the 1NC Pentecost is Nisan 18 to Sivan 7. The second 1NC Pentecost is ER 16 to Tammuz 5. The third 1NC Pentecost, which this year is the second HLC marriage Pentecost, is Sivan 21 to Ab 10. And the late version of that is Elul 10. Now the fourth 1NC Pentecost goes from Tammuz 19 to Elul 8, which is invalid because it's in a Sabbath month. So that gets kicked forward to Tishri 8, which is the fourth 1NC Pentecost. So what we do is we've got, although we don't have any non-late Pentecosts in Elul, because it's a Sabbath month, there are two late Pentecosts. There's the late Zoa Pentecost and the late third 1NC Pentecost. And those are the essentially where we predict the fire signs now to fall. There's always one more technicality than you'd imagined. Although things have simplified a bit. With the generalized greater or super Pentecost, but which you get to by taking the definition of the Pentecost in Leviticus 23 verse 16 and substituting, instead of having a weekly Sabbath, we change it now for a Pentecostal festival Sabbath, but leave the day, there's a day and a Sabbath, leave the day as a BLC day as it is in the original definition, just change the weekly Sabbath to be an annual Pentecostal festival Sabbath, and then you get a super Pentecost. And it's to the day after the seventh Sabbath will be the day after the seventh Pentecost, which is in fact Elul 6 or Elul 11 rather than Elul 10 for the 1NC Super Pentecost and Elul 5 for the Zoa Super Pentecost. So we're therefore going for Elul 5-6 and Elul 10-11, and that's August 26-28 for Elul 5-6, and it's August 31 to September 2 for the third fire sign. So Mike's dream is still valid in that the second fire sign occurs in August, and the third fire sign may be in August, or if not, it's in September 1 or 2. Although World War III we now have beginning on Elul 12, which is September 2-3, which is 5 days after Elul 5, which is the rapture, the beginning of the rapture of the two NCs. So here's what's going to happen, guys, if we're not mistaken, and we're quite good with doctrine and with symbolic interpretation. We're not so good with chronology because it's extremely difficult to get without enough confirmed anchor points. And on that subject I'll talk to you later about Jesus dying in the Jubilee month, which is a fantastic way of deducing when he died, but also a way of confirming our entire chronology, which we'll do later. But we're good at the symbolism of things. And here's what happens. First, the 1NCs have been raptured, all of them, and married to Jesus. And the ones who are operational, I mean, there's a lot of reserves who don't yet have a game, because they're for the future when some of the 1NCs in the Third Holy Spirit will either abdicate or get thrown out, or something will go wrong, or take a sabbatical maybe, and then they get substituted by the reserves. But all the ones who have got a game, I don't think they've ascended. They're still here, helping everybody out. But I think the ones who haven't got a game have ascended to the heavens, I think. The HLCs, they've all been married and they're all in the ark, which are the helpers, the lords to the kings. 1NC saints are the kings of the heavens. But Jesus is King of kings and Lord of lords. And each king has 100 lords in his administration. Because, you know, a king has a whole administration, right? You can't just have a king. You have to have an administration. All his courtiers. These are the lords. Lord, Lord, they said to Jesus, the virgins who didn't make it to be a king. They became an uber-lord or an unto-lord. The two types of lord. And these lords, they've all been raptured now. And the group that comes after them are the 2NC kings, the earthly kings. And the group that comes after them are the earthly lords, our administration. And the group that comes after that is the priest, and the group that comes after that are the citizens who obey the first law. And all of that lot get raptured. And here's how it seems to work, which is really beautiful. The groom, which is me for the 2NC, and the groom's party, which is the present Church of the Lord's Witnesses, the men in it, the saints, we get raptured on LL5. We then become the groom's party, and we come back down again, having been in the ark, and find our wife, just like the Jews would do. Everything the Hebrews do that's biblically recorded is prophetic, even today. Well, if they're still doing the stuff that was biblically recorded. So we come down from the ark and we find the wife in the middle of the night when she's not expecting it, and we rapture them into the ark. And then when we've got the 2NCs, then the 2NCs go and get the ELCs just appear, because they're in Hades, they need to be resurrected. The ELCs, as we understand it, had a promise of an angel but didn't actually get one until this resurrection. So when they're resurrected now, and this would be Paul and all his people, we the living who are surviving to the presence. I mean, he's actually dead at the moment, but he's living in the sense that he has a promise of an angel. I mean, he can't have been alive the last 2,000 years. That would be so incongruous to have a 2,000-year-old angel being told what to do by a 100-year-old human. That would be absurd. And also, he can't, having had 2,000 years as an angel, come and run the kingdom. He'd break the prime directive, basically, which was brilliantly deduced by Star Trek and Gene Roddenberry, but it actually applies to God's people. You can't have people from Eden 2 or angels coming down here saying, you don't want to do it like this, you've got to be doing it like this. Here, have some infinite energy for nothing. Here's the cure for every disease. It doesn't work like that. We've got to work it out for ourselves, and they set the rules for that quest. Alright, so the ELCs become angelic on resurrection, I believe, and they will be resurrected after we have collected all the 2NCs. Then together we go and collect the CRCs, the priests. Then the priests go and collect the citizens. And when we're all in the ark, which is Tishri 6, the reason we're all in the ark in Tishri 6 is we started going in the ark on Tishri 17, and it has 300 cubits of length, 50 cubits of width and 30 cubits of height. And I used to think that meant that you could go into it for 300 days, you could stay in it maximum 50 days, and climbing up Jacob's ladder to go out by ascension is 30 days. And all those things are true, but it's slightly more flexible than that. You can go in for 350 days, eating up all the width of it, as long as you don't spend any time in the ark on the 350th day. If you go in for at day 300, you can spend 50 days of the whole width of the ark in it. You go in 340 days after the Tishri 17, which is going in on LL26. If you went in then, you could only spend 10 days in the ark to Tishri 6. And that's why ark entry for non-angelic people ends on Tishri 6, because they can't make use of the 30 cubits height of the ark, because they're not going to ascend. But Benjamin can continue to come in actually all the way up to Heshvan 6, although we have his last rapture, Heshvan 2 at the moment, based on a counting argument, two counting arguments, and the mark of the beast stuff. That might be 4 out. It's possible that Benjamin finishes his rapture on Heshvan 6. It is possible. So that's what's going to happen. Each group brings in the other group, and that's what Revelation 6 is all about. Come and see, says one of the 4 living creatures. That's actually the first New Covenant saints living by virtue of, well, they've got everlasting life actually. And they invite the HLCs up. And when you count the come and see, the sentence count of it, it all works out as 84 times. And that's the length of the rapture of the HLCs from the first HLC marriage on 2020 ER16 to the final rapture of them on 2020 AB10 Temple Burning Day, HLC Temple Burning Day on Earth, because they're all up in the Ark. Then the HLCs, having got up there, invite the 2 NCs, which is us lot. And the sentence count of that is, well, the conquest. It's the period of rapture of the 2 NCs, which is 13 times from LL5 to LL18, and that's the sentence count of the come and see. And he was given a bow, and the guy on the white horse is given a bow and a crown, and he went forth conquering and to complete his conquest. All that counts as 13 times, and that's the length of the 2 NC rapture. And then we get the CRCs up, and the whole thing continues like that till the 4th horseman. And the 4th horseman, who's death, and Hades follows him. Death is a name for Satan, although in this case it's actually Satan too. Satan 1 has repented, so he's not death anymore, although he of course was the instigator of death by killing Adam and Eve, or conspiring with Eve to kill Adam and get Eve to kill herself, turn her into a suicide bomber in fact. So that's why he's called Death. But the rider of the 4th horse is actually one of his sons, Satan 2, who's taken over from Satan. And he only has authority over people who aren't Abraham. He has authority over a 4th part of the earth, which is a quarter of the population of mankind, because 50% of mankind's in the Ark by the time he gets riding, and of the balance, the other 50%, he only gets a half of them, because half of them are in the 1AC, or already Abrahamic, and he has no authority over Abraham. He only has a lease over Adam, and he can kill the people that he has authority over, but he cannot kill Abraham. So all of the pyrotechnics we're going to see that are incredibly scary, just like COVID, but more scary with nuclear war and all the rest of it, that are the Great Tribulation, they don't actually kill Abraham. I don't even think they touch Abraham, or constructive Abraham. So the way to survive it is to love and have faith. So the incredible thing is, at the end, if you count the authority properly of the 4th horseman, he was given authority to take peace away from the earth, and he's given authority to take peace away from the earth in order that they should slaughter one another. So he's given 2 authorities. One to start World War III, take peace away from the earth. That's the World War. And then to do the same thing again in order that they mutually or reciprocally slaughter each other. In other words, mutually assured destruction. That's the nuclear part of World War III, the Great Tribulation. And if you count the period of the destruction, the census count of Revelation 6, I think 6, 7 and 8 or something, you end up with, coming from Tishri 5, when the FRC rapture begins, all the way to the end of the authority to kill, which is the end of the flood, which is Chislev 1. So Tishri 5 to Chislev 1 is 56 days. So there you go, it's 56 days. And the incredible thing is that count works. It is 56 when you add them all up. And the authority to kill runs out when the flood has wiped out Adam, and all we've got left is Abraham, or constructive Abraham, because Satan has no authority to kill constructive Abraham. So that's when the ride of the 4th horseman ends. It ends with the end of the lava flood, because there's nobody for him to cause death to anymore. So that's beautiful. Now let's go to something equally beautiful, which has eluded me since '92. It's the Jubilee count, 50-month cycles from Adam's sin. The kingdom of God begins after 6,000 years, which is 1440 50-month jubilees. Adam became the first priest of mankind after one jubilee of 50 months. Well, the first month is Iyar, the 50th month is the Jubilee release, which would be Sivan, yeah, Iyar to Iyar is 49, Sivan 3989, Adam having sinned in 3993 Nisan. So 50 months after that is Sivan 3989, and on the Jubilee release day, which is 10th of the month, on that day Adam would have been entered into a priesthood. And as I say, the 6,000 year lease of Michael was up 2008 Nisan 14, the 1440th Jubilee. And here's the beautiful thing, Jesus died 33 Nisan 14. That was a Jubilee month. I can't remember offhand how many it was, but it's a Jubilee month. And likewise, when Abraham crossed the Euphrates 1943 Nisan, that was a Jubilee month, because 1975 years before Jesus died, which is 1975 years before the end of the world, and the 50-month Jubilee pattern repeats itself every 25 years. So 1975 is a multiple of 25, and therefore the entire Mids prophecy from 1943 Nisan, when Abraham crossed the Euphrates, to Jesus' sacrifice in 33 Nisan, to the end of the ARC lease, the end of the 6,000 years from Adam's sin, the beginning of the Sabbath for the second Holy Spirit, that is another Jubilee. And because we know that Jesus did die in 33 Nisan 14, not from this Jubilee count, but from all sorts of other things, it confirms that this Jubilee stuff is correct. And what that means is that the Third Kingdom Jubilee, which is Tishri, the month of Tishri, which starts in, well, today is Ab 29, so Tishri starts in 32 days' time. The dragon's 42 months lease is up in 45 days' time. 1.5 months he's got left. No time at all. And we're all raptured into the ark before that lease expires, which is takes some doing. So the incredible thing about Tishri this year is it's the Third Kingdom Jubilee, the 1443rd 50-month Jubilee from Adam's sin, and it's in Tishri, which has the Atonement Day, which is the Jubilee release day, the 10th of the month. And that happens once every 25 years. The Jubilee is only in Tishri every 25 years, because Jubilee is 4 years plus 2 months. So in order to cycle all the way around, you've got to do 6 of them. And 6 lots of 4 years and 2 months is 24 years plus 1 more year, which is 25 years. So that's why every 25 years it cycles. And the next time, therefore, that Atonement Day equals Jubilee Release Day will be in 25 years' time, which is 2045. Which is too late, because we're obviously in the time of distress right now with COVID and with worldwide slump and with rubbish, lawless, corrupt behaviour by Democrats in the US having a convention and patting each other on the back whilst their cities that they control are being burnt and rioted and looted. Incredible behaviour. So there isn't another 25 years. So there is no question. The Jubilee restoration of Adam, when he becomes non-Adamic, when all the Christians get returned to the Edenic state that Adam lost, that occurs in Tishri, which is in 32 days' time. It actually occurs Tishri 10, you enter into that's the Jubilee release. And in Tishri 14, all the Zoharites die and they're resurrected on Tishri 20. The Christian Zoharites, that is. Those are the people who don't make the ark. If you make it into the ark, you also die, but it's a technical death. You don't notice it. You die and you get a standing resurrection. And it's just a change from Adamic to non-Adamic genes. It's a gene zap, which is a technical death, because you wake up in a different body to the one you went to sleep in. So the one you went to sleep in has basically disappeared or died. So that's our confidence in our present chronology stems from this Jubilee count, which is confirmed as to its veracity by the death of Jesus being in the Jubilee month. I mean, I didn't know it was, till I thought, oh, it should be in a Jubilee month. I mean, that's a release, that's the biggest release of them all. It must be a Jubilee month, and then we found it was. So either you can use it to confirm our chronology, or you can use it to confirm when Jesus died. He has to have died in a Jubilee month. It must be a miles more. Mind you, that you can only do that if you know when Adam sinned, of course, which most Christians don't know. So it doesn't really help, I suppose, for most Christians, but it helps enormously for us. Alright, so those are the things, the beautiful things we have for you. The Jubilee count we have a proper understanding of Revelation 6, we've nailed that now, and the new fire sign dates. L56 and L1011, which is August 26 to 28 for the second fire sign, and August 31 to September 2 for the third. And we think it's New York first, London second, but it could equally be the other way around. Thank you very much.